So today we're going to start off with a challenge. We didn't get the key for the wheel locks, so we had to figure out a way to get the wheel locks off. Luckily the socket just fit right over them and they came right off. So it just goes to show you how useless wheel locks are if you're using them for anti-theft purposes. These are more because the lug nuts have to be smaller to fit in the cutouts. And here's another reason I don't like aftermarket wheels. You need special tools to take them off, like this Allen wrench. Not a big deal when you're at the shop, but if you're on the side of the road changing your tire, it gets to be a pain. Today we're going to change the rear end. I sold the rear end out of this truck, so I want to put the original one back in it. So now we're pulling the ABS sensors out. Pull the brake calipers off. We're going to leave the brake system intact so we don't have to bleed anything. We're going to take the lines and hoses all off in one piece, set them to the side. Take the other ABS sensor off the other side. Got to be careful, it takes a little time to wiggle them out of there without breaking them. Pull the other caliper off. Pull the drive shaft out. Pull our shocks out. Both sides. Put a little oil on our U-bolts. They weren't too rusty. Came out pretty easy. Take our brackets off. And we lift the truck up. Now we're going to put the rear end on some dollies, so we just wheel it out of the way. Once that's out of the way, we're going to roll our new one underneath and set it down on the rear end. Get it in position. We got to rotate the rear end flat so that the perches of the rear end line up with the mounts on the springs. There's little pins on the bottom of the springs that line it up. Once we get it lined up, we can drop our U-bolts in. Put our brackets and nuts on the bottom. And then when you tighten them up, you want to tighten them up evenly. You don't want to tighten one side all the way up. You just kind of go back and forth. Go to the other side. We'll pull our wheels off. Pull our old calipers off. Our rotors. Pull the caliper off this side. Pull our rotor off. Put a drive shaft back in. I have to change the backing plate, but I haven't decided what the best way to do it is. So rather than sitting there and pondering, I went on to the next step and just put a drive shaft in at the same time trying to figure out what the best way is. And put the shocks back in. Bolt the brake lines in. So I decided what I was going to do. Pull the axle out. Pull the little keeper out. And there's a keyway that it holds in. Pull that out. You can unscrew the nut that holds it on. Pull the hub out. Now we can unbolt our backing plate. Put our new backing plate on. Well, our other used one that wasn't all bent and destroyed and rusty. Put our e-brake cable on. Now we'll bolt our backing plate in. Using German torque specs, good and tight. Put our hub back on. Put new seals in it. Put our nut back in there. Put our keyway back in. And our lock. Lock just pushes in. Put our axle back in. Put all of our bolts back in. Put our rotor back on. Put our caliper back in. Put our ABS sensor back in. Now we're done with this side. I'm going to put the original wheels back on it. It'll make it easier when I try to put the bed on. The truck will be lower and the wheels will be smaller. Give me more room. Or we're just going to take the other side apart. Same way as the last one. I did put the jack stands on each side to kind of tilt the rear end. Keeps the oil from leaking out. At the end you're working on is a little higher. Put our ABS sensor back in. Put our e-brake cable back on. And put our other wheel on. Now we're going to pull our truck apart so they can paint it. We're going to take this door all apart. Now we're going to take our door check out that we had dropped back in the door a long time ago. Put it back in so we can get rid of that little bucket that's holding the door open.
Yay! Yay, Chevy!
Lower the window down so we can get to the bolts. Pull the weather stripping out. Take the trim panel off inside. Take the rear channel off. Now we can pull the glass out. Pry up the little tabs and Pop the outside trim molding off. We're all done, ready for the painter to tape it off. Here he goes. Next time we see it, it'll all be one color, ready to put back together.